Hello, I'm Penny Dell. I'm back with the third episode of Nawa's Living Legacy. It gives me great pleasure today to introduce three of my friends and three friends to this day who joined Nawa and have become, like lifelong friends. I first will introduce Maddie Siegel Marks. She will introduce Anne Chenault, and Anne will introduce you to Joan Greenfield. At the end of this, we'll have a nice conversation, and you will get a little intro into their amazing work and their enormous contribution to NAWA. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Maddie Siegel Marks. Their picture, old and new, Maddie Siegel Marks and Anne Chenault and Joan Greenfield. Maddie is what we call Madeline Siegel Marks, who joined NAWA in 1993 and led NAWA through 3 years as president, 1999 through 2002. An award-winning, figuratively trained sculptor, she works in many mediums and genres. Her 10-year anti-war art project, which was presented at the UN Commission on the Status of Women 2016 forum with the Women's Caucus for Art, and can be seen online at listeningtotheenemy.com, is one of her projects. 3 public sculptures in New York City and 1 for Northern Duchess Hospital in Rhinebeck, New York, are among her many accomplishments. She's been an instructor of figurative sculpture, and during her tenure as president of NAWA, she curated several exhibitions and programs with humanitarian intent. She served on art and international youth leadership program boards, including the Art Students League and the Louis August Jonas Foundation. She works independently and previously with the LIST project to aid Iraqi refugees and with the Taru of Nepal in human rights development. Represented by the Albert Shahinian Art Gallery of Rhinebeck, New York, she loves playing with form and with color and is pleased when she has done something good. Next, Maddie, take this on.
Okay, so this is my girls on the board. For us in those years, which for me was 1999 to 2002 as president, the board was really the essence of NAWA, because there were about 30 of us who met every month, and every one of us had a big job to do. And so this is some of us who were meeting, working, and really got to be, as Penny said, lifelong friends. Another slide. Oh, this is a picture of me in the loft that I'm sitting in right now. Early days with my husband, Richard. We are also a sculptor. Just wanted to give you the ambiance of early Soho and the excitement about doing work there. This, as Penny said, I was a figuratively trained sculptor, so I use that as a basis for my work, the figure, and I taught the figure and portraiture. This is a portrait of my husband, Richard. This is an early picture of me at the Art Students League doing God knows what. I don't know. One of the Musketeers, perhaps. Next. This is, I got into sort of biomorphic abstract form. I did a lot of birds that I abstracted form with. I call this one Struzzo, which is ostrich. Richard and I worked a lot in Italy to make bronzes, and this is one of my major pieces from that era. Along those lines, this is a giraffe playing with abstraction and biomorphic form. This is called Woman as Machine. This, I guess, is my feminist piece. The woman is carrying something on the front. She's carrying something on the back. She's carrying the bicycle that's supposed to be carrying her. She's carrying everything. So that's what that was about.
It's like 2 balls.
This is one of my public pieces. It's called The Children's Ride. It's made out of fiberglass, and it was on the corner of Bleecker Street and 6th Avenue for 2 years from 1995. There's another shot of it from the rear. If you would come to the next slide, there it is. That was a lot of fun having that piece in Manhattan. Right now it's upstate. And I wanted to bring into the conversation two people who are no longer with us, but as we talked about friendship, which I think is the bulwark of the essence of now, this was my good friend Emily Mailing, who succeeded me as president. I just picked this picture because I love it. I never knew her when she was this young, but she was always beautiful and talented, and I wanted to bring her into the story so that we never forget her. Emily. And this is a work of Harriet Marion, who is also no longer with us, who died too early, extraordinarily talented, funny, and just did things that nobody else would think of doing. And this is one of them. I wanted to bring that in. And this is a good segue into a few of the things I wanted to share from my years as president. This is the Millennium Collection. That's a picture of me and Anne Chenault, who was the secretary and who really ran the whole show for many, many years and kept us all afloat. In the year 2000, we wanted to do something to really to have forever as a mark of what we were doing as the millennium came to us. And so about 500 of our 800 or 900 member artists did works on paper. And here they are. And we took this collection to Baltimore, to the second Worldwide Feminist Expo. 4 of us went for 4 days. And we ended up getting the first prize for the best feminist vision of all of the exhibitors at this expo. We got the prize because we showed that we looked at through the past, the present, and the future through our archives and our exhibitions, really the story of American art through the eyes of women. So it was a wonderful thing. And this was also shown 2 years later at the United Nations, which was really a coup because the UN does not show American work usually, only shows international work, but we got the UNIFEM to help us, and we put that in for Women's History Month at the UN. So very proud of that. Yeah, I just wanted to mention a few other things, but maybe I'm too long on time. We did, what I loved about my years is that we did some things out of the box. Aside from the many exhibitions we did a wonderful panel on censorship in women's art at Cooper Union, and we worked with the Coalition Against Censorship and the First Amendment Center. We did we did 1 year, we welcomed new members at the Metropolitan Museum, which was really quite lovely for them and for us. Mm-hmm. And we did, 4 of us member artists went to an elementary school in Bed-Stuy, and we spent the whole day with 4th graders. We had collected a lot of art material, and we just let them go. And it was an amazing, amazing day for the kids and for us. I'll never forget that day. And that's, for me, that was the wonderful thing about my time, is that we did these unusual things. Now let's go to Anne. Here we go. So I just want to say Anne was really the North Star of NAWA. She was hired in 1983 to help run NAWA's headquarters at Union Square West. Any observer could see she was important on a daily basis, and what's more, she held down the NAWA fort through many regimes and presidential successions. Her sense of humor, competency, helpfulness, and diplomacy was a huge contribution to all of us in the membership. Many thought of her as the mama of NAWA. She answered the phone, opened the mail, kept the files, organized our entries, deposited our payments, counseled and calmed and encouraged. She worked there for 20 years through 9 NAWA presidential administrations and helped with the office in their move to Fifth Avenue and to 14th Street. After she retired, she worked for the American Watercolor Society, and she worked there for quite a few more years. As an artist herself, she participated in the Ord Concours in some of NAWA's annuals until she retired from her administrative NAWA work. Then she won a prize from a distinguished roster of judges, which included Faith Ringgold. She continues to draw the figure and to do mixed media works to this day. Anne Chenault. You're on, Anne.
What do I do?
So you just talk about.
Talk about things.
Oh, okay. Talk about me?
Yeah, talk about you.
Okay. So these 4 people are Yvette Chusett, Maddie Siegel Marks, Rosalind Rose, and myself. And I think that was just a gathering picture. I don't know if it was of any special meeting or anything. It was just a nice picture of all of us. So this is a picture that I got an award from some very elegant, great artists, women artists. And I was very surprised because in the past I had not participated, but then I tried to do this piece, and it's a collage of watercolors and computer work. Okay, so
That's it.
I guess these are the people that were there doing the jurying, I suppose. Pat Adams, I got the award from her, all right?
Okay.
And these are some paintings, watercolors, because I'm a watercolor person and I love to play with watercolors. And this is some of the watercolors that you'll see in my apartment that have been part of my life. So this one should be a horizontal picture, but it works this way too. So I have it in my bedroom so you can turn it all around. And this is a picture that I did when I was studying with Don Stacy in Union Square. And we did a lot of figure drawing all the time. And I had this one framed, and it was in a show here in Penn South that they had for members of the life in Penn South. And this is just a picture that I saw on a magazine, I think, and then I changed it all around and made it into a painting for myself. And I did that out in Jackson Heights. And early on in my life in New York City. Another watercolor. And these are 2 experimental drawings that I did with watercolor and just thought processes. And I have no earthly reason for doing it, but I enjoyed doing it. So this lady is somebody else. I don't know who she is, but I let her stay. Joan Greenfield is next. Joan Greenfield joined NAWA in 1975. Over the years, she enthusiastically volunteered to travel, painting exhibitions, convene juries of awards, plan programs, jury membership, research NAWA history. Her figural as well as abstract paintings won many prizes in the NAWA annuals. In 2007, she was crucial in scheduling and installing NAWA's exhibition, Personal Totems, 4 of about women and color, curated by Faith Ringgold and shown at Adelphi University in Garden City, New York.
You know, I'm a late bloomer. I went back to college when I was in my 40s at Adelphi University. And then when I decided what I wanted to do, which I wanted to do when I was very, very young, I transferred to the art department there. And it was many wonderful years that I was at Adelphi in the art department, which is not an important story, but when the work that I'm most proud of are my anamorphic arts. One year, my husband and I went on a trip to England, and we went to a museum, a military museum, and they had something called anamorphic art, which was a round painting, which you could hardly discern if there was an object. And there was a cylinder in the middle of the table, which reflected an image that was easily identified. So I came home and I researched anamorphic art. So some of the work that you might see is a result of the fact that I did research into anamorphic art, which is, it's a reflection, one-dimensional reflection of a three-dimensional type of drawing. And when you see it reflected, it makes sense. Otherwise, it has no meaning, seems meaningless. It's the way, it's mathematics, it's done through mathematics. Okay, what else would you like to hear? Oh, there's a painting of mine that I did of a nude. Anyway, so that's another thing. That's the anamorphic painting, which is hard to see, really. You have to be in front of it. There's a round painting, very colorful, mathematically done, and in the center, there's a reflective cone. When you look into the reflective cone, you'll see the actual images within the, and this is called anamorphic art. It's all mathematics and fun to do, and challenges to your mind. And this is one of my paintings. I say that's an image of me, a fat old lady. Then I was a fat young lady. This is another one of my images. I use this figure. It's like a clown. It's the substitute for me. And here's another image. I thought this is not a too pleasant images because the earth is opening up and it reflects war. It doesn't seem that way, but that's what it does. The damages that war as a result of the war. And this is another painting, which I have an anamorph of. It's just design. I love designing. And in the center are two figures. Some of the ideas I get are from archaeology of the lands of the Bible.
So at this point, we're going to have a conversation. And I usually ask people, to tell me how they learned about NAWA. And here is what I got from Anne. But, I think you'll all look forward to hearing how Joan found out about NAWA and how Maddie found out about NAWA, which made me, laugh. So Anne said that she was drawing in the studio on 16th Street and she saw a posting on the wall. So, she got grilled by members of NAWA. And after waiting, they made her wait. She found out she was selected to be hired. And so here we are many years later. And maybe we can all go together on a big screen, and, talk about some of our main memories.
Okay.
So
I'll go next. Okay. So yeah, I think that story that Penny was referring to was, I guess in the early 1990s, I had decided it was time to join an arts organization. I was really not in that world where we were busy going to Italy and making sculpture. And I thought it would be really nice maybe to join a women's art organization if such a thing existed. You know, maybe something national. So I went to the Yellow Pages and I looked up national, and I found National Association of Women Artists, and I called, and they said, yeah, you can apply. And that's how I joined the National Association of Women Artists. It wasn't really very chic way to do it, but it was very efficient. And I have to say that I came onto the board a few years later when someone asked me if I would take the job of doing the annual traveling painting exhibition, which first put me off because I was a sculptor, not a painter. And so I declined, but then I thought better of it, thinking it would be a learning experience, and really, really it was. And as Joan Greenfield mentored me, because she had done it before and I leaned on her a lot, how to put together a show of that sort that would travel from 8 to 12 museums across the country. I learned a lot how you could accomplish something that when you were working with people of some gravitas, which the board of NAWA was. And my other, really my other, as I said, North Star was Anne Chenault, who was there for me and for every president who worked every day to keep this organization going. And she had told me right off the bat, she would call me every morning. I was horrified, but it was true. She called me every morning, and for 3 years, I looked forward to that call. Really, it was the highlight of my day, even if it meant a lot of work for me. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
So Joan, tell us your story.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. There you
Okay. As an adult, I decided to go back to get a college degree. And it was very convenient to go to a university on Long Island where I live. And so I went to Adelphi University for a number of years. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. In the interim, or in between years, or the pre-years, my husband Sam and I traveled, and we ended up in England, and we went to a museum, and it was a military museum. And when I went inside, it said three-dimensional anamorphic art. And there was this round table with a cylinder in the middle of it, which reflected an image that you could understand. Oh, I said, that's an interesting. So I went back to the States and I did some research on anamorphic art. And it's basically very based on mathematics and formulas. Well, I didn't follow the formula. I figured it out, which I did. And at that point in my life, I started making these wonderful three-dimensional works of art, which are forms of anamorphic art.
I love those, Joan. I just wondered, can you tell us about how you heard about NAWA? Because, like, you know, it really.
Well, when I graduate, I will. You're right. Our NAWA is the prime reason for this, a raison d'etre for this wonderful meeting of all my old friends and new friends. But when I graduated from Adelphi, I went back to school. Originally, I just went back to get a degree, and then I smelled the paint from the art department there. So I transferred to the art department and became very involved with the art department at Adelphi. I did various things for them. But what else can I tell you?
How did you find NAWA?
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost track. When I was at Adelphi for a number of years and wanted to figure out, I had to do something in the art world besides go home and dabble with whatever you wanted to do at home. I looked, and there was an ad in the newspaper for National Association of Women Artists. Oh, I said, that sounds interesting, but you have to take your work to be approved and have these huge anamorphic, three-dimensional, heavy stuff to schlep with me. because it was on heavy board, the actual paintings, because you have to attach the cylinder to something very stable. And so I schlepped my anamorphic art up to the office then, and luckily I was, or unluckily, but I think luckily, it was a wonderful stroke. And I became a member of, and I made, and I decided to volunteer, and I did a number of things for NAWA. But the most important things were the women that I met and worked with. It was a wonderful, and it is a wonderful. And look, it's all these years have passed. I don't even want to, maybe somebody else could account for how many years have passed. I'm not good at mathematics. And we have this wonderful opportunities now that Penny has afforded all of us, which is to get together and discuss all the things that have happened all these years, all the water and wonderful other things that have flowed through our lives to this day. And I'm hoping this will continue. And I'm looking forward to us getting together again. As a matter of fact, we have to get together, but we'll probably make some kind of special meeting in New York. New York will get together for sure.
Okay.
So
We'll
I
do
want
it.
to wish everybody
Yay.
everything.
It's a day.
And thanks again.
Yay.
Penny, thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you guys for showing up. I have more questions like Anne. You know, I guess you saw so many presidents come and go, and you know, and so many members that still love you, you know, and you know, I guess do you get to see, you know, I mean, not counting you know, the pandemic. Do you get to see some of them, you know, in art circles or at art shows? Tell me about that.
Well, you know, there were so many crazy things that happened during 20 years, and wonderful things happened, and interesting things happened. And I never got tired of being around all of the presidents, all of the members, and sitting in on those meetings. And we had meetings up at the Metropolitan Museum one time, and I had to carry all the stuff up there to put out on the tables because we always had a display of our information for people to pass by. And, you know, those kinds of things are just buried within me. And I probably could really tell you a lot of things, but I'm not going to do that. So it's just a love that I had for that organization. And I was very happy to be there for 20 years. That's about all I can say about it.
Well, we all thrived under your, you know, guidance, you know, and the son of your, you know, information and encouragement. You know, I can't thank you enough. But
Well, one thing I will say, Leona Mooney, who was the cause of me getting a computer, because she put some money from NAWA in a bank, and they gave us a computer. So I had no knowledge of it all about a computer. I still don't. And anyway, she saw to it that it was put in the office, and some people helped me a lot on it, on figuring it all out. And then one day I came in and I opened the door to the office, and there was smoke coming out of that computer. And I thought, oh my God, what are we going to do now? And so they got a man from the building to come, and he said, it's a dead soldier. I said, it sure is. So then we got a new computer. So that was really a tough day.
Typical day in the life of Nawa.
Right, that's right.
Right.
another crisis in the day of Anne Chenault that she dealt with so gracefully.
You have to laugh. That's the main thing. If you can't laugh, you just might as well hang your hat.
Yeah. So, you know, I feel like we're just getting started, but I know that Emma has to wind up now. So I think there's enough time for, like each of us to, like say a wrap up kind of line. And, mine is thank you to all three of you, because I really cherish everybody's story and personality. Maddie.
Yeah, I have many more stories. It's for another time, but I did come across a painting which I bought when I was vice president of NOAA, just through happenstance, who happened to be, I learned later, a former member of NOAA, because I got some material with the painting, and it showed a NOAA exhibition in the year 1942 in the newspaper, the Yiddish newspaper, the Favids, the Forward, and it had about
Wow.
50 pictures of paintings and sculpture done by women in that era. They're wonderful works, and the names of the women, we don't know those names, almost none of them. I happened to get this painting, which I still own, and I still own this newspaper, and it just shows how NOAA has endured from in 1889 to today, still going, still active, still wonderful.
Okay. Anne, you have some last words?
What? Say that again?
Yeah, last words.
Oh, last word. No, I just say I applaud everybody that I ever had any dealings with in all those 20 years. They were wonderful artists and they were thoughtful people, and they always encouraged me to hang in there. And I did.
Here, here. Joan, last words for you? Joan?
I don't think I would have been so involved as an artist in any way had I not seen that in the paper when I graduated from Adelphi University, to apply for this women's art organization. It was just luck, serendipity, that I had just finished one of my early anamorphs, and I schlepped this big thing with me, and I was accepted. And I treasure my time at NAWA with the various things that I did. Not so important. The important thing was that we were a group of women who were
Yay.
talented, very, very talented, and willing to give of themselves for other women artists, which is the
Yay.
basis of National Association of Women Artists yesterday and today. So
Yay.
thank you all for being wonderful friends too.
Great.
We've remained friends in contact, even maybe not everyday kind of contact, but we are part of our memories that are important to us.
Yay.
So thanks again, you all.
So, I just wonderful praise for all of you. And I also wanted to praise Emma, the genius behind this whole social media thing. And Biana, who is our executive director, Natalia, who's our president, and Jill Barada, who helped get me started on this history launch. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That's what I have to say. And, for you viewers out there, thank you for Zooming. Yay.